Hi everyone, let's talk about books today. You see a whole lot of books here. I want to talk about styles because there is so much variety in styles, and maybe you've wondered, like, is my style good enough? Is it fitting in the industry? And just let me show you. Yeah, there's so much variety. I don't think you have to worry, but let me show you. Let's start with a more realistic art style. De Parel van Eva, written by Martin Witmark and illustrated by Emilia Zubak. And I'm so sorry, but I'm going to butcher a lot of names today. My apologies. The English title of this book is Little Pearl. Here you see that the face and the flowers and the plants are almost as detailed as a photo. It's very realistic in the way it's rendered, and the colors that you see, they would be the colors in real life. Compare that to the more childlike style of Marika Mayala, for example in her books Wolf and His Gardener and Rosie Runs. Wolf and His Gardener I have, but it's a chapter book. And Rosie Runs, so I wanted to show you Rosie Runs as well, but I don't own it yet. So I would love to own it, but so I'm going to show it you on the iPad instead. She uses oil pastels and crayons, and in a very free and expressive way. In an interview, which I will link down below, Marika says that she found her way of drawing, and she learned to enjoy it more when she started drawing with children, and you can really see it, I think, in the way, the way she draws. It's very childlike, and I mean that in a positive way. I really love that open-minded approach to making art. She is an inspiration to me because she has found a freedom in her work that I aspire to find for myself as well. I don't necessarily want to copy her style. It's just that, I don't know, I just love the freedom of it, the way she works. This is actually in How to Be a Children's Book Illustrator, so it's not a picture book itself, but it's about picture books, and this is a whole story that she's illustrated. So the illustrator is Kate Pellerin, and she's known on Instagram, for example, under Poopy Cat, and the story is written by Greg Dobbins. I'm not a tree climber. It's so different again from Marika. Just look at these books together. You have the more realistic, you have the childlike, and now this is more rendered. The whole illustration is filled with neatly colored three-dimensional shapes. Where Marika's work was more flat, here it's very three-dimensional. There's shadow and there's light on the shapes. Also rendered, but this time done in oil paints. Rules of Summer by Sean Tan. Again, there is shadow and light. There are three-dimensional shapes, but in a looser style than Kate Pellerin's work. Sean says he mostly painted with a palette knife to get this looseness of paint strokes. The mood is a lot darker and more serious than, for example, the childlike work of Marika. And the stories they tell with their work are very different from each other. This book, by the way, is called Picture Book Makers. And I will show you a couple of more examples from it later in this video. Now compare these highly rendered styles to the flat art styles of the next two illustrators. First, an artist who works digitally. This is the same but different too. It's written by Carl Newson and illustrated by Kate Hindley. There are hardly any shadows. It's flat shapes and neatly colored inside the lines. I love Kate's work. There's so much humor in her work. It's very inspiring. The next book is Home by Carson Ellis. It is so different from Kate Hindley's work. The colors are very different, but also the shape language is different, and Carson uses gouache So there's these beautiful textures. Let me zoom out a little bit. There's the beautiful textures that she has in her work. And she is also very good, I think, at designing the page. The next contrast I want to show is between loose and tight, although tight maybe is not the right word for what I'm going to show, but you'll see. Anyway, we'll talk about this one later. Let's start with the birthday invitation from Laura Hughes. This work is very loose and expressive. Again, there's a freedom in it that I aspire to it, a looseness. The brush strokes and line work, they are very loose, and the line work is a bit scribbly. There's a lot of movement in it. It has a lot of dynamic energy. Again, compared to Julia Sarda's work, which is not loose, but very dynamic in a different way. She makes her work dynamic by the shape of the colors, not the shape of the colors, the shape of the shapes. I don't know, the design of the shapes, the design of the page, the movement in the characters. Here, this is just amazing. There's so much energy in this. Her shape language is so good. Her design is so good. This is One Day in Wonderland, written by Caitlin Krill and illustrated by Julia. The shapes are neatly colored. To me, Julia is queen of quirkiness and solid storytelling through interesting compositions and shapes. I'd say this one is a bit more comic book style, perhaps. I don't know how to call this, but it's How to Light Your Dragon, written by DJ Levy and illustrated by Fred Benaglia. Sorry, Fred. There's a looseness in Fred's way of drawing and a playfulness. The colors are bright and the shapes are flat and they seem to be cut out. I don't know if they are collaged with real paper or maybe done digitally, but I really like the wonkiness of the shapes. And his style lends itself perfectly to the humor of the story. Limited color palette, which I really love in this one. This next book reminds me a lot of naive or folk art. The Tree Lady, it's written by H. Joseph Hopkins and illustrated by Jill McElmurray. Especially the patterns and marks Jill uses in, for example, the trees, they remind me of folk art. And how little perspective there is in the environments, that reminds me a bit of naive paintings. Here, this page is really like, you can see all the dots, etc. That's more folk art style, I would say. I mean, maybe you think something else. Now here's another name that I'm sorry, I really can't pronounce. Sengsun Ratanavan also uses patterns which seem to be hand painted. But the way they do it reminds me a bit more maybe of graphic design. This is Patience Miyuki, written by Roxanne Marie Gallies and illustrated by Sengsun. They have a really good eye for design as well. Elements are placed on the page with real careful intention. I think it's very striking, very bold. Something completely different, very different and way more chaotic, I would say, in a positive way, is this mixed media work by Beatrice Alemagna, The Marvelous, Fluffy, Squishy, Itty Bitty. Beatrice uses a lot of different art materials here. There's paint, there's crayon, pencil, collage. This more experimental way of working, if I try something like this, it really pushes me out of my comfort zone and it encourages me to have some fun exploring different materials and techniques. And I love that, and I'm a big fan of the way she works. What I love about this, I mean, it's at first glance it's all paints and pencils, etc. And then you see, for example, this. That's cut out from a photograph. Someone else who has collage in their work, a bit in a different way, is Ezra Jack Keats, A Letter to Amy. Painted papers that he made himself, combined with patterned papers and flat colored papers. I especially love the way he uses pieces that seem to come from packaging or magazine perhaps, I don't know, and the way he uses them. For example, here where they are like torn posters on a wall. This seemed to be like cut paper, like just sheets of paper, hand painted papers on a painted background. So he paints his own papers and then he uses patterned paper as well. Here again. And so Ezra's work is very painterly, and so is this one from Nathalie Lété. Nathalie is very well known for her more decorative products, like for example for anthropology. And this is a children's book that she made with fun little things. Her style is quirky and unique, and but it still has elements of realism, like this, for example, the flowers. Nathalie uses a lot of vintage-inspired elements, and I love the unique feel it gives. Nathalie inspires me to follow my own quirks and my own interest in my art. Next is a book I showed in an earlier video. It's called The Cottony Fairies by Anna Sender. Very different from, example, the work of, let me grab it again, Julia Sarda, which is digitally. I want to show it to you again because I want to highlight the hand-drawn feel the art in this book has. Some parts are just like we saw in their sketchbook in my video about marks and motifs. Hang on, I want to grab the book. So not last time. in the video about the marks and motifs, I showed you this page where I showed you how in her sketchbooks she explores mark making. And what I love is that her books are very similar in the style of mark making. So I love this bridge between sketchbook play and real picture books, published picture books. If you, like me, have a tendency to overwork and overthink your art, then I think this is a good reminder that it's not necessary to do that. It really gets the life out of your illustrations. And while Anna's work is very lively, and this is why I think exercises like the one of my marks and motifs video are so important to do. It helps play more freely with our materials. Going back to this book, printmaking is another style used in children's books. Ballad by Bernard Granger, also known as Blex. The printmaking technique is something that was done more in the past, but it's still alive and used today. And now you can get similar results and effects using digital drawing, for example with Procreate or Photoshop. There are still a lot of artists who use this, the original way of working. But yeah, you can do it digitally now. Another one in this same Picture Book Makers book is Chris Houghton, in his book We Have a Plan. And these illustrations are so bold and almost graphic design as well, I don't know, and very brightly colored shapes. And again, those wonky cut out shapes, they give it more personality and life. So very bright. And then last but not least, but I have to zoom out again for this book because this is huge. Sam en Julia, Het Muizenhuis, which is a passion project by Carina Schaapman, who is from the Netherlands. She just makes these huge doll houses. It won a prestigious award in the Netherlands. It's so unique, and it shows that there is so much possible in the children's book world. It's quite popular here. There are multiple books in this series right now, so this is a layout of one of the doll houses, and she tells her story through all these wonderful scenes. Just look at that. How lovely is that? So these are real dolls with real objects photographed, and it makes a really beautiful picture book. I hope it encourages you to be uniquely you in your work and follow your own heart, and do your own passion projects. You never know where they can lead. I hope it shows you that there's a lot possible in the picture book world. These are some of the many styles available in children's books. Are there styles that you would like to add to this list? Then please let me know in the comments. Because every time I look through my own book collection, I'm reminded that there isn't one perfect way for illustrating picture books. So maybe instead of asking ourselves if our style fits the industry, or how do we find our style, maybe a better thing to ask ourselves is, does the work we make feel like us? Do we embrace our own way of working? Do we embrace our own way of seeing the world? Or are we trying to fit in, perhaps? And to be honest, I think that good storytelling is more important than style. So for example, how do you convey emotions and interactions? So if you've been feeling stuck in your search for your art style, I hope this video encourages you to explore art making the way that fits you, the way that you love, and what gives you energy and joy in making art. In an upcoming series, I will share more about my work process for one of the books I illustrated. And I'll be talking about why it changed the way I approach art making. But for now, thank you so much for watching, and enjoy exploring your own art journey. Bye bye.